In this video, we provide a brief introduction to the topic of moral psychology. Research on this subject shows that it has clear evolutionary and hence genetic origins. Type of family upbringing may also affect our moral outlook and political affiliation. The kind of social organization we find ourselves in can also determine our moral behavior. Moral psychology is the study of how people think, feel, and act morally. It is a multidisciplinary endeavor and encompasses evolutionary theory, experimental psychology, and even philosophy. Several themes emerge from this work. The first is that both emotion and reason help us to determine right and wrong, with most work supporting the notion that we are more intuitive and emotional than rational in this process. A second is whether people are more selfish or groupish, with research demonstrating support for both. Moral psychology has direct implications for the political ideology that we all develop. One very noticeable duality of human nature is that we are both individualistic and group-oriented. We want to be left alone, but we also sometimes want to join in. When we become part of a group, it becomes easy to lose our sense of self and identity. This makes it easier for us to adopt our own in-group views and oppose views from out-groups. This type of affiliation can be the basis of empathy and caring for others, but also of prejudice and discrimination. There is abundant evidence to support the idea that we evolved to have certain social predispositions. Christakis, in 2019, calls these the social suite, and they are as follows: individual identity, love for parents and offspring, friendship, social networks, cooperation, preference for the in-group, mild hierarchy, and social learning and teaching. Groups with these characteristics do better than those that lack them. For example, shipwreck survivors that are successful don't follow the Lord of the Flies model. They are characterized by good leadership, friendship, cooperation, and altruism. Noticeably, these spontaneous societies don't develop novel forms of governance. They instead resemble the same features as large-scale, well-established human societies. So, in the absence of outside influence, human groups revert to the way things have always been done. This supports genetic, evolutionary explanations over environmental ones. Jonathan Haidt, in 2012, describes 6 foundations of moral psychology. These are each based on evolutionary adaptations that enabled us to live together in groups. The first is care-harm. This evolved in response to the challenge of caring for vulnerable children. It allows us to be sensitive to signs of suffering and need in others. It promotes empathy and the desire to care for others. In fairness and cheating, this is a second dimension that evolved in response to getting the rewards of cooperating with others without also being exploited. It makes us sensitive to whether someone would be good to cooperate with and makes us want to exclude or punish cheaters. In loyalty betrayal, this evolved from farming and maintaining of coalitions and sensitizes us to whether someone is a good team player. It makes us trust and reward those who cooperate and punish those who do not. Number 4 is authority subversion. This evolved to assist in the forming of beneficial relationships within social hierarchies. It makes us sensitive to signs of status and whether people are behaving properly in their social roles. Number 5, sanctity degradation. This evolved initially as part of the disgust system, which evaluates items as capable of causing illness and death. It can then be extended to determine whether other sorts of objects are good or bad. And finally, number 6, which was added later, is the liberty-oppression dichotomy. This makes people sensitive to signs of attempted domination and urges people to band together to resist and overthrow bullies and tyrants. Political liberals tend to focus on the first 2 of these principles because they are more communitarian. Conservatives tend to focus on the other 4 because they are based on social hierarchy. And libertarians tend to focus most on the last of these because of its focus on the individual and freedom. George Lakoff argues that political outlooks are the result of different family styles. Conservatives adopt a strict parent model, which promotes discipline and hard work, in which people take care of themselves. Liberals have a nurturant parent model promoting care and empathy, where people help to take care of each other. In a conservative, strict father family, children are taught, quote-unquote, tough love. They're taught to be self-reliant and to have a strong moral character. These values are instilled through a system of rewards and punishments. Obedience and respect to one's parents is important. And in this model, the world is thought of as a difficult place with people getting what they deserve. In a liberal, nurturant family, understanding and helping others are the primary virtues. Children develop morally by interacting and observing good parents and other role models. Punishment is used more sparingly, and rules need justification and explanation, not just obedience. The world is thought of as a place where everyone must work to improve other people's conditions. These different types of upbringing can explain the conservative and liberal stance on a variety of political issues. Conservatives will prefer hierarchy and a rules-based approach, so will be in favor of a strong military and police, as well as religious institutions that teach moral conduct. Liberals will favor empathetic and community-based forms of assistance and support government approaches like welfare and social assistance. The way a social network is structured can also determine how we treat others. This can be independent of evolutionary or familial influences. Christakis performed a network analysis on an online group assigned a random number of quote-unquote friends. When some of these individuals failed to cooperate in performing a task, they defected by leaving the group. The result was a large-scale set of defections and a failure to get anything done. So under situations where people have no control over who they interact with, and in the absence of any form of leadership, cooperation ceases. However, in another version of this study, people were allowed to choose who they interacted with. Participants ended up forming ties with nicer, cooperative people and breaking ties with defectors. The people in this study, under these conditions, were able to get along and get things done. The artificial society broke up into cliques of cooperators in order to avoid being exploited by the defectors. These studies show that kindness may be a social phenomenon as well as an intrinsic trait. The structure of the social group can make people either mean defectors or nice cooperators. Social network analysis can tell us how people get along in various organizations, whether those be online in social media, in the real world, or in a corporation.